Hey, hello everyone. I'm Mr. Bird and welcome to the video where we go over the 30 practice questions on this practice test that I gave you. This video we've broken down into chapters on YouTube so that you can easily go to whichever question you want to look at. And you can just skip through that way, okay? So I'm going to take this practice test and walk through each question. And I'm going to use um, the TI-84 calculator online that I have. It's like the same one that you have, as well as Desmos graphing calculator that you'll have on the ACT. We'll see that you can use both of these in conjunction. Sometimes you want to use one or the other, and we'll talk about which is better for certain problems. Okay, let's get into it. So, first question is, at a college track meet, we have three jumping events: high jump, long jump, and triple jump. I see a Venn diagram. I'm going to skip to the question. How many, this pen is too big. Okay, how many athletes are competing in both high jump and triple jump, but not long jump. Okay. So it's asking how many athletes are both high jump and triple jump. Okay. So they have to be in this one, but not in long jump. Okay. And that's precisely this category right here. Okay. So these three athletes are in the intersection of high jump and long jump. I'm sorry, high jump and triple jump, but they're not in long jump. You see how they're outside the long jump circle? Okay. So because of that, our answer is just going to be A. Okay. For number two, a function f is defined by the equation f of x equals x squared plus 5. What's f of 3 plus 1? Okay. So we define out what f of 3 is. So f of 3 is, I'm going to plug this into this function. I'm going to get 3 squared plus 5. Okay. 3 squared plus 5. You can put that into your calculator or you can do it in your head. I'm going to do it in my head. 3 squared is 9. 9 plus 5 is 14. Okay. And then it's asking for that plus 1. Okay. 14 plus 1 equals 15. Some of you might forget that you have the plus 1, but the good news is that for this question, 14 isn't an answer choice. Okay. So you get 14 and then you try to 14, but there's no answer with number 14. So then you go back and be like, what did I miss? So make sure that here, again, you're doing the function and then you're adding 1. Okay. Cool. Number 3, given b is 40 and c is negative 16, b plus c is equal to the product of negative 4 and what number? Okay, so it's saying that b plus c, which is 40 minus 16, is equal to negative 4 times some number. I'm going to call it x. Okay, and 40 minus 16 is just 24. So how do you find out what x is here, right? If you can get to this point, it's pretty simple. It's just a one-step equation. Divide both sides by negative 4, right? Then you get that x must be negative 6. So that one is B. This one is J up here. Cool. Number 4, it takes Colin 24 minutes to walk to school in the morning. What fraction of his 24-hour day is spent walking to school in the morning? Okay. So we have 24 minutes out of a 24-hour day. What we need to do here is figure out how many minutes those 24 hours are. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my TI and I'm going to hit 24, right? 24 hours times 60 minutes. And this is going to give me the number of minutes in a day, okay? 1440, great. So what that means is we have 1440 minutes in one day. So our fraction is going to be 24 divided by 1440. Now, how do you simplify this? Let's go to Desmos. Let's do 24 divided by 1440. Hit enter. If you go over here, it shows you the decimal, but you can also click this thing and it converts it to a fraction. And there it actually tells you right away. It's 1 over 60. That's perfect. Okay, that saves you so much time sometimes. So if you ever get a fraction, honestly, I might even skip the simplification myself, right? I might just turn off my brain, go to Desmos, put this in, and then see what it simplifies my fraction to, okay? Again, it's going to give you a decimal when you put this fraction in, so make sure you hit this little fraction icon on the left. That'll convert your decimal to a fraction in the most simplified form. Okay, so that one is 1 over 60. Number 5, a certain triangle has interior angle measures of 6x, 2x, and x. We can make a diagram here. Because I see a triangle, I like making diagrams, okay? So it's not to scale at all, but we have 6x degrees, um, 2x degrees, and then x degrees. And then what is x? Well, what do the interior angles measures of a triangle add up to? 180, right? So you can add all these up to 180. 6x plus 2x plus x. Those angle measures are equal to 180 degrees. Then you can simplify that like terms. You get 9x equals 180, and divide by 9 on both sides gives you that x equals 20. Okay? Number 6. Which of the following matrices is equal to 6 times that matrix? Okay? There's two ways to do this. One way is if you remember the rule, you can just multiply the 6 to each element. So in these cases, you're distributing the 6 to each element, okay? So we're going to get 6 times negative 5, negative 30. 6 times 3, 18. 6 times 0, 0. And 6 times negative 4, negative 24, okay? If you didn't know how to do that, you can also do it in your TI. I showed some of us how to do it in our TI. Let's go back to our TI and see how to put in a matrix, okay? So let's hit clear. So you want to go to, let's see, second, and you hit matrix. So this shows us all of the matrices that we can use and edit. So now I'm going to go over to the edit column and hit enter. It's going to let me like edit each matrix. Okay, so now I can put in values from matrix. It's a 2 by 2 matrix, right? We can go back. The matrix they gave us has 2 rows. So 1, 2, and then 2 columns, 1, 2. So it's a 2 by 2. Okay, so I'm going to say 2 by 2. And then I'm just going to put in my numbers. I have negative 5. Oh, let me go back. What happened there? Okay, go to edit, hit enter. Oh, make sure you use a negative sign. That might give you trouble sometimes. If you use like the minus operation up over here on the right, that's going to give you an error, okay? So negative 5, 3, 0, and negative 4, okay? And I'm going to save this. So now I'm going to do second and then quit to go back. I'm going to hit matrix again. So I'm going to do second matrix. And I'm going to hit 1 to use 1 whenever I want to insert the matrix, okay? So we're going to go back. We have 6 times that matrix. So I'm going to do 6 and then do second matrix and then hit 1. And that'll insert my matrix basically in there. And hit enter and it gives me what 6 times the matrix is, okay? And it's the same thing that we got. So just as a refresher, that's how you do it on the TI. So that one is J. And this one is C. For number 7, A, B, C, and D are on a circle. So this time they gave us a diagram, which is really good because you'll see that this is a headache if you don't have the diagram. A and B are as far apart as possible. Okay, guys, what that means is that A and B are just on opposite sides. Okay, so that means that AB is the diameter. Okay, C is halfway between A and B along circle O. Okay, so since AB is the diameter, if we draw a line like this, we're splitting it into two semicircles. If we're drawing a line like this, we're splitting this into two quarter circles, okay? And then D is halfway between C and B. If we draw another line like this, halfway, we're splitting this quarter circle into two eighths of a circle, basically. And now it's saying what percent of the area is enclosed by line segment OC. So I'm going to use red now. So OC, OD, and minor arc CD, which is just this. Okay? So they're asking you how big is this sector of the circle, okay? We just said, right? This is 1/8 of a circle. If it's 1/8, right? 1/8 of the circle, you want to convert that to a percentage, you get 12.5%. Okay? If you don't comprehend that we're splitting the circle into halves each time, honestly, for this one, you can also guesstimate based on the diagram, okay? So looking at the answer choices, it's definitely not a half of the circle. It's not the full circle. And it's not a quarter of the circle either. It's like less than that. So it has to be A. So that one you can get by guesstimating or by kind of following along what the question is saying, okay? So step by step, C is halfway between A and B, tells us that we're splitting into quarter circles, and D is halfway between C and B, tells us we split into eighths of a circle. Okay, that one is it. Number 8, this is a physics problem. When I see a physics problem, I just go to the last sentence immediately, and I see whether it's asking me for the height or whether it's asking me um, at what time is the object like at the ground or at some height. Okay, here it's asking me what will be the height, and it gives me a time, 3 seconds. So immediately I'm like, okay, I'm gonna plug in, um, I'm gonna plug in 3 for time, okay, because the time is in seconds. So to find out what h of 3 is, okay, that's gonna be negative 4.9 times 3 squared plus 30 times 3 plus 55. And voila, I can just put this right into my graphic calculator, okay? I'm just gonna do negative 4.9 times 9 plus 30 times 3. This 9 over here, right? This 9 is from the 3 squared, right? Don't get confused. It's 30 times 3 plus 55. That gives you 100.9. Cool. That's my answer. Okay. Number 9, given the function, which of the following expressions is equivalent of x? So unfortunately, there's no like good way to factor this expression. Um, so what I would do here is, if I were you, I would FOIL each of these out, I guess. Um, Actually, here's a trick you can do. Some people told me about this trick last time. You can graph the function they give you, but you can also graph each of the answer choices and see which two are the same. Okay, let's do that. Let's go in Desmos this time. For graphing, Desmos is usually just easier to work with than your TI. For TI, you usually want to use it for like either matrices or for when you have to do some like operations, like this multiplication or whatnot. Okay, so we're gonna use graphing here. So we're gonna graph 4x squared minus 14x plus 12. Okay, and you get function. And now we're going to graph each answer choice and see which one is equal. Let's start with A. Let's graph negative 2x plus 4, 2x plus 3. Nope, that's not right. How about the next one? 2x minus 4, 2x minus 3. Oh, look at that. Those two are equal. Okay, that's how you know. And then you would stop there and then you just circle B. Okay. If you were to try the other answer choices, they would obviously be different graphs. Okay. For that one, I would recommend that. Um, Unless you're good at like factoring polynomials, which I find to be kind of tricky, like this is probably like the best use of your time. Okay. Like I would not advocate for foiling each of these expressions out, like A through D, and then seeing which one is equal, because foiling is going to take you way more time than just turning your brain off and putting these into GeoGebra. Okay. Number 10, which of the following is equivalent to 6x plus 3y minus y minus 2x? This is combining like terms. When you have this minus sign, we distribute it. So we're going to have 6x plus 3y minus y, and then we have minus minus 2x, which means we have plus 2x, okay? And then you distribute the like terms, we get 6x plus 2x is 8x, and then 3y minus y is plus 2y, okay? So that one is J. Knowing how to just like combine like terms like this is non-negotiable. Your calculators won't do this for you, okay? So make sure that you know how to run like terms for expressions like these. Number 11, Bryce owns an apartment building. He charges $325 per month for each one bedroom apartment and $410 per month for each two bedroom apartment. So most of you reading this question will probably recognize that this is a system of equations, okay? And I have a really neat trick for solving systems of equations that makes it totally easy unless you turn your brain off, okay? All you have to do for these questions is I need you to set up a system, okay? And once you set up the system, you can solve it really easily, okay? So let's see. They're asking us about how many one bedroom apartments Bryce charged for this month, okay? There's one beds and two beds. So I'm gonna call one bed X and I'm gonna call Y our two beds, okay? Now we're gonna make two equations. He said he charged a total of $4,905 for 13 apartments. So our two equations are going to be for price and for quantity, okay? Quantity is the easy one, right? Quantity is just going to be x plus y equals 13 because there's 13 total apartments. The price is going to be, we want to add up the cost of all the one beds and the cost of all the two beds, and that's a total cost, okay? The cost of all the one beds is 325 times x, right? We get that because we have 325 per month for each one bedroom, okay? And then we have 410 times y, 410 per month for each two bedroom, okay? And that's equal to a total of 4905. If you get here, you've solved the problem, okay? We're not going to do any substitution, any Gaussian elimination, none of that. We're going to go into GeoGebra, sorry, Desmos, and we're going to plug in both of these equations. So now let's go back here. Let's say you do x plus y equals 13. Let's say you also do 225x plus 410y equals 4905. And voila, you have the solution right there, 5 comma 8. Okay. It takes like reading the graph a little bit, but if you zoom in at the intersection, you can usually like find out the point. Okay. Okay, so is the answer 5 or 8, right? Well, which one do we use as x? We use the one bed as x. And one bed is what it's asking for, right? So again, I kind of ran over, but what I did was I saw what is it asking for? How many one beds? Okay. And then is it one bed's X or is it Y? It's X. So that means your answer is going to be 5. Number 12, a restaurant surveyed its customers to determine whether or not they like hamburgers and whether or not they like turkey burgers. So the nearest 1%, what percent of the customers who responded to the survey, okay, that's our denominator. So that's our total population, right? The total is 312. How many of them like hamburgers? Well, like hamburgers, they can be people that like turkey burgers or don't like turkey burgers. We don't care. But the total people that like hamburgers are 195. So I'm just going to put this in my calculator and see what decimal it gives me. Okay. So I'm going to go back. 195 over 312.625, which is about 63%. Okay. That one is H. Number 3, for what value of n does a quadratic equation have solutions of x equals 7, x equals negative 3? Okay. I see quadratic equation. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go into Desmos and I'm going to try each of these four answer choices and see which ones have these two roots, okay, these two solutions. So I'm going to try negative 21 first. If I don't include the 0, then it'll just graph the equation. I can see what the zeros are. If you include the 0, it'll just give you the two lines. Either way, it doesn't matter. You get the zeros of this when you graph it. And it tells you here that you have negative 3 and 7. Okay? And that's precisely what our solutions are. So that's going to be A. If you do B, for example, if you do negative 4, then your solutions are, um, these, which are not 7 and -3. If you're gonna do it by hand, we should recognize is that these two correspond to factors of x minus 7 and x plus 3. And you'd have to FOIL this out, basically, to figure out what your equation is going to be. And foiling it out would give you the answer, but in my opinion, it might be quicker to just graph this in Desmos on your test nav and just see which two, just see which answer choice works for n, okay? Number 14. The lengths of corresponding sides of two similar right triangles are in the ratio of 4 to 5. So I'm going to have two similar right triangles. One is like a little bigger than the other, not really. I'm going to say this one is 4 and this one's 5. Okay. Hypotenuse of the smaller one is 20 inches long. What should the bigger one be? Okay. This is a proportion. We have 4 over 5 equals 20 over x. Okay. And x is like what we're looking for, our larger hypotenuse. You can maybe look at this and you can figure out what the answer is. It's j. You can also go ahead and solve for x, right? Cross multiply. You have a proportion, you can cross multiply. You get 4x equals 100. Divide by 4, you get x equals 25, okay? When I see triangles, I want you guys to always make a diagram, okay? Because that helps you visualize what the question is looking for and, figure out how to solve the problem. That one is J, okay? Number 15, what is the amplitude? Okay, amplitude is like a trigonometry term, which you may or may not know, but all it means is like how tall, how high up does a function go? Like how up or how down does it go above like the middle. So here it's going either this much up or this much down, and that corresponds to between 0 and 1, it's 1/2, okay? You can also tell because the amplitude is also the coefficient in front of the cosine or the sine. Okay, so it's 1/2 here. Those are two ways to do it. Number 16, a circle in the center xy coordinate plane has its center at 3, -4. So center is at 3, -4, and it passes through 0, 0. Okay, which of the following is an equation? So what I'm going to do um, is I'm going to put each of these equations into Desmos if I don't turn my brain off and just see, you know, which one has its center at 3, -4 and passes through the origin. Okay, so let's graph x squared plus y squared equals 5. And let's see what we have. Our circle's center at the origin, not 3, -4. That one's wrong. Let's try this one. Let's try g. So we have x minus 3. So now I'm going to go over here, put parentheses, x minus 3. Then we have y plus 4. That got messed up a little bit. Okay. That one does not pass through the origin, so it can't be that one. Next, x plus 3, y minus 4. Let's try that one. Oh, I just realized I put that one in wrong. Let's go over it again. So one thing you might do, like me, is you might keep the constant on the right hand side the same. So make sure you change it. Um, this one goes to the origin and it's actually centered at 3, -4. So that's actually a right answer. So if you were me, you would have gotten that question wrong. That's why it's important to um, check your work, right? If you checked your work and you left it again, maybe you would have seen that, hey, like I actually did this one wrong. That's only if you have time to check, I guess. If you were to do it like by hand, the equation for a circle, if you know it, is x minus a squared plus y minus b squared equals r squared, okay? And here, the coordinates of your center are a comma b, and r is the radius of your circle, okay? If you were to plug in the center here, you would get x minus 3 squared plus y plus 4 squared, okay? And you'd immediately know that it has to be g, because we don't know what the radius is based on this question, but g is the only one that has the correct a and b, okay? Let's let her do it by hand. Number 17, you can factor out perfect squares, which I'll do real quick in case you know how to do this one. Square root of 112 is 16 times 7. Square root of 112 is going to be 4 times square root of 7, okay? 63 is 9 times 7. Square root of 63 is 3 square root of 7. 175 square root, I'm sorry, 175 is 25 times 7. So that means that square root of 175 is 5 square root of 7, okay? If you add all those up, you get 12 square root of 7. But simplifying radicals is kind of hard, honestly. We don't cover it enough, and you might not know how to simplify these, where we take the perfect square out and we just add up the radicals. So an easy way to solve this is just plug in this expression into Desmos and see what your decimal is, and then see which answer choice matches a decimal, okay? So now I'm going to go to my TI, actually. I'm going to do, let's see. So second square root of 112 plus, make sure when you do plus, you do it outside the radical, okay? So you wouldn't do the right arrow key to go outside. And then another square root of 63 plus another square root of 175. 31.74. Okay, so we have 31.74 dot dot dot. Now figure out which one of these answer choices is 31.74 dot dot dot. Okay, is it 7 times square root of 12? I'm sorry. Uh, okay, 7 square root of 12? Nope. Is it 7 square root of 50? Nope. Is it 12 square root of 7? Yeah, it is. So then we know our answer is C. Okay. Choose your method. I think personally, um, I'll probably just like plug in each answer choice because you can simplify the radicals, but it still took us like a few seconds, even though we knew how to do it. Okay. This just lets you turn your brain off and actually save your mental energy for those harder questions. Okay. Okay, number 18, we have a ratio. Okay, when you have a ratio, and to figure out how many um, like total parts we have. Okay. So to find out the number of total parts, whenever you have a ratio, I'm going to add up all the pieces in the ratio. So we have 5 plus 3 plus 2, which is 10 parts. Okay, we have 10 parts. So that means that you can divide 180 into these 10 parts. That gives you 18 per part. And the smallest integer is going to be the one that's 2 parts, right? So one way to think of this is imagine you have like a pizza. Okay. Um, Whenever you see a ratio, you can think of a pizza, okay? There's 10 total slices of the pizza. So we have, um, let's see, something like that. Um, one of our parts is going to be like this half of the pizza, right? That 5. One of our parts is going to be this 3. And then one of our like integers is going to be, I'm sorry, I've been saying parts, I mean integers. One of our integers is going to be like these 2 slices, okay? And we're going to figure out how many of those 2 slices are, okay? So if the whole pizza is 180, those 2 slices, another way to think about it is they're 2/10 of whatever 180 is, okay? And 2/10 of 180 is 36, okay? So you can either find the value of one part and multiply by 2, or you can do it as a fraction where you're finding out the values of just 2 of those 10 parts. It's kind of the same either way, but you get 36 this way. So what is G? Number 19, Jeremy reaches into a box in the closet. The box contains 10 gloves that make up 5 matching pairs. So one glove at random and puts it on, and he picks another glove at random. What's the chance that he picked a matching pair? Okay. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna like write down 10 gloves as like 5 pairs of letters. So I'm gonna say there's Gloves A and A, B and B, C and C, D and D, E and E. Okay. Let's say Jeremy picked glove A. Okay. So Jeremy picks glove A is gone. Now I was asking you, if you pick out glove A, what are the chances that you pick the other glove A, right? You want to pick out a matching pair. Well, now you want to see how many total gloves you can choose from, right? Since we chose one of the glove A's, we have 9 gloves left. So that's our denominator. And how many gloves can we choose so that we pick a pair? Well, we can only pick this second A, right? And there's only one other A to make a pair. So that means we have one possibility. So therefore, our probability is going to be 1 over 9. Okay? 1 over 9. That one's going to be A. Number 20. The store gave a free t-shirt to every 24th customer that entered the store, and a free gift certificate to every 60th customer that entered the store. If there were 500 customers that entered the store, how many customers received both a free t-shirt and a free gift certificate? Okay. So what I want to do here is I want to try to figure out how often does someone get both a free t-shirt and a free gift certificate. Okay. So let's say you're customer one, two, three, four, all the way to 24. If you're 24, you get a t-shirt. And then you go skip to 48. If you're 48, you get a t-shirt. Um, and then you skip to 60. If you're 60th, you get a free gift certificate. So I'm gonna say GC for this one. And then if you go to 72, you have a t-shirt. If you go to 96, you have a t-shirt. And then if you go to 120, you'll get a t-shirt and a gift certificate. Okay. So the 120th person is the first person to get both things. Okay. To get both prizes. And what this really is it's a least common multiple problem. Okay. It's basically asking you, hey, can you find the least common multiple of 24 and 60? And then you just find out how many times that repeats. Okay. So basically every 120th customer will get both a free t-shirt and a free gift certificate. That means sold the 240th, sold the 360th, and sold the 480th. Okay. So we have one, two, three, four customers getting both a t-shirt and a gift certificate. Our answer is G for that one. Okay. If you can identify that this problem is asking you to find the least common multiple of 24 and 60, but you're not sure what it is, and you don't want to do all this workout, you can also go to your TI. There's a function that gives you the least common multiple of two numbers. Okay, so you're gonna do math. You're gonna go to number over here, and then you're gonna click number 8. Okay, you can either scroll down to number 8 or just press 8. Number 8 is the least common multiple function. Here you would put in 24, and then you put a comma, and then 60. It tells you that the least common multiple of those two numbers is 120. Okay, that's another way to kind of figure out how often is a customer getting both a free t-shirt and a free gift certificate. Okay, so that one is going to be G. 21, Cameron's bookshelf has 3 books with a rating of 10, 5 books with a rating of 100, and 2 books with a rating of 70. There are no other books on the bookshelf. What is the expected value, okay, of the rating of a book randomly selected from Cameron's bookshelf? So expected value, what that is it's basically just asking you what the average um, is. Okay, here's gonna be the average rating. We find what the average rating is. So if you have 3 books with a rating of 10, we're gonna add up basically what all of our ratings are. So we have 3 books with a rating of 10. We have 5 books with a rating of 100. We have 70 books. I'm sorry, 2 books with a rating of 70. I want you to add all of those up. You can do it in your head or in the calculator, but you would get 30 plus 500 plus 140. And that gives me 530 plus 140, which is 670. Okay. That's our total rating. Then I'm going to take this and divide it by the number of books. Okay. Because it's like an average, right? It's like an average rating. How many books are there? 3 books, 5 books, 2 books. Okay. 3 plus 5 plus 2 equals 10. So we're dividing by 10 books, and that gives us an average of 67 per book. Okay, average rating of 67 per book. Okay. Mean expected value, think of it as like for this question, if like several customers rate like a movie or a restaurant, it shows their average rating. That's the same as expected value here. Okay, so make sure you know what expected value means. Here it's just the total score or total sum of whatever you have divided by the total number of things. Okay, it's the same as average, 67. For 22, the first term of a sequence is negative 10. If it gives me the first term, I'm writing the first term. I'm going to start writing the sequence. So I have negative 10. The second term is 1. Okay? Each subsequent term means each next term, is obtained by adding the two immediately preceding terms. Okay? What is the fifth term? So if I define the fifth term is honestly small enough to where they probably want you to count out the terms anyways. Okay? So I'm going to label my terms. So this is the first term, this is the second term. My third term is going to be negative 10 plus 1, right? Adding the two immediately preceding terms, right? So the two immediately preceding terms is going to give me negative 10 plus 1 is negative 9. To get the fourth term, I'm going to add 1 and negative 9. That's going to give me negative 8. To get the fifth term, I'm going to add these last two, negative 9 and negative 8. It's going to give me negative 17. Okay? That one is G. Again, to visualize that, you can do this. You can also make a table. So third term, okay, we have 1, 2, negative 10, 1. Third term is negative 10 plus 1, which is 9, negative 9. Fourth term is 1 minus 9, which is negative 8. And then fifth, which is our lucky winner, is negative 9 minus 8, which is negative 17. Okay, so two ways to do that problem. 23, which of the following values is a y value in the solution to given system of equations? I see system of equations, and I immediately think, oh my god, finally I get to turn my brain off and just go to Desmos. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to Desmos and I'm going to plug in these two equations and see what the solution is. Negative 4y minus 3 equals x. And here I have 2x minus 22 equals 6y. Oh, right there, see my solution. What is it? If I zoom in, phi negative 2. Oh, so our y value is negative 2. Okay, done. That takes so much less time than actually solving the system. Nobody wants to solve a system of equations. If you plug this into Desmos, you can solve this in literally 30 seconds, and you'd save so much time for other questions. Okay? So when you see systems, I really want you to make the habit of um, putting the two equations into Desmos. Okay? Try it. What I would do if I were practicing is, you can't always use the TI because sometimes you're going to use Desmos. So if you go to TestNav, I'll show you how to get here. Okay? We're going to open TestNav, look this up. You click here, you can click on the ACT, and then over here, go down to practice tests. We're going to take a practice test like this on Saturday, by the way. Click on mathematics and do timed, okay? And then you can just start, start, and you have a calculator up here, okay? And this calculator is what you'll be using on the actual ACT, I'm pretty sure. I'll double check with Mr. Sesma about that, but I'm pretty sure that's how it's going to be. And that's how you can access this version of the graphic calculator, okay? Because if you use like the standard Texas testing one that you have in like Aware and whatever, it's not going to let you put in equations like this. It's not going to be this robust. So make sure you follow along these questions as I do them, and make sure you actually know how to use, uh, this version of Desmos where you can just plug in the equations and find out what the solution is, okay? By the way, it's not y equals 5, right? Because when it gives you a solution, the first one's always the x. Second one's always the y, right? You have x comma y. So it means your y is negative 2. Okay, it's a second coordinate there. So that one is, of course, B. 24. Some values of the function are given in the table. One of the following equations defines g. Which one? Okay. If I have a table, what I can actually do here is I can use Desmos again. Okay. I can use Desmos and actually I can actually plot a table. If I do this plus sign, I can put it in a table and I can start putting down my points. So I'm going to use x to be x and have negative 2, 0, 1, 2, 3, the whole shebang. And then on the y, I'm going to put in my g of x basically because those are my outputs. So I'm going to have 0, negative 8, negative 6, 0, 10. And now I'm going to take a look at what this graph could be. I see that we go down and then back up, right, between these 3 points. What that tells me is that my answer must be a quadratic equation, okay? It must be either h or j. It can't be f, it can't be g, because this is not linear at all, right? No linear function um, can have these points. So now we have two answers left, and we can just graph these. We can graph these on the same exact coordinate plane and figure out which one is our function. So with h, if we do h, we have x squared plus 2. You can just graph the expression. You don't have to graph like the g of x equals because that's going to confuse us a little bit. If you try it, you can yeah you can put in the whole thing if you like, but you can also just put in the expression on the right hand side. And then if you do the second one, it should be right by elimination, right? At this point, we've narrowed out all the other answers, and you get J for that one. Okay, you get J because that graph goes through all the points. Okay, 25. The vertex angle of an isosceles triangle is 40 degrees. What is the measure of base angle? This is kind of tricky terminology. Honestly, I didn't even know this before I had to look it up. The vertex angle of an isosceles triangle, it means that it's referring to the angle that's like in between the two same sides. Okay, so the base angles are both going to be the same, right? In an isosceles triangle, the vertex is different. So here you're gonna have 40, and here you're gonna have x and x. Okay, it's not the other way around, where 40 is one of these, and then it's asking you what the base is, as in this third angle. The base is always going to be there's two base angles. Okay, so always remember when you're talking about isosceles, there's one vertex angle, and there's two congruent base angles. Okay, when you do diagrams, that's going to be important. Your one vertex is going to be 40, so here we have x and x. We can just solve for x pretty easily. We have 40 plus 2x equals 180 degrees, right? You can solve for this. You would get minus 40 minus 40. 2x equals 140. X equals 70. Okay, that's going to be B. 26. Equilateral triangle ABC is inscribed in circle O. What is the degree measure of minor arc BC? If you ever see triangles or whatever inscribed in a circle, you might freak out. Honestly, I freak out sometimes too. But what's important to see is what's important to remember is like sometimes you just have to look at the diagram they give you and see if you can figure out what it is from there. Okay, like minor arc BC is referring to this arc, right? It's asking you what's the degree measure of that arc, right? You can kind of tell that each of these arcs are like 1/3, right, of the entire circle, like 1/3 of the entire circumference, right? So if the entire thing is 360 degrees, like the entire circumference, then each third, right, is going to be 1/3 times that, which is 120 degrees. Okay, so then you're going to get H for your answer. You can also kind of look at it and you can tell that like it's not 90 degrees, it's bigger than that, but it's also not 180. But usually these are like kind of obvious with the diagrams. Okay. Number 27, a scale model where one coordinate unit represents 1 mile is drawn to the standard XY coordinate plane. Angel's house is at 4, negative 3. Ella's house is at 4, 4, 7, so on and so on. It's going to give us all the coordinates. It's asking us which of the following is closest to the area in square miles of the rectangle whose vertices are the real locations of the four houses. Okay. This might seem like a complicated problem because there's so much text, but all this is really saying um, is if you plot these points, go to the area B. Um, you can find the area in units, and then it says 1 unit is 1 mile, which is great. Okay, you can either visualize this on your own and figure out what each side of your rectangle is going to be, or you can plot this in Desmos. Either way helps. I'm going to plot it first. So here I'm going to delete these. Um, I have a point at 4, -3, so I'm going to do 4, -3. I have a point at 4, 7, so I have 4, 7. The point at -2, 7, and then I have a point at -2, -3. So here you can see I kind of have a rectangle, and I want to see how big that rectangle, what the area of that rectangle is going to be. Okay, you can kind of see from looking at this, the base, right? The base goes from -2 to 4. That's going to be 6. So our area is based on its height, right? It's the first thing to remember. Our base is going to be 6, and our height is going to be from -3 to 7, right? That's our height. That's going to be 10. So our height is 10. That gives us 60 units. Okay. If you're confused about where I got those numbers 6 and 10 from, I would again look at this picture, and I would try to like what's it called? Skip count each unit between each 2 points, so you can figure out what the base is and then what the height is. Okay. You can also kind of look at it over here. You can see that x goes from -2 to 4. So -2 to 4 is a change of 6. You might recognize that. And then for the height, we go from -3 to 7, and that's a change of 10. Okay. But either way, you get that the area would be 60 units. Okay. So we have 60 square units. And since 1 unit is 1 mile, that means that 60 square units is also 60, it's also 60 square miles. Okay. If it said 1 unit was 2 miles, it'd be a little trickier because then 1 square unit would be 4 square miles. Okay, but that's not the case here. If it's 1 to 1, then you're good. Number 28, function be defined f(x) equals -9 squared, blah, blah, blah. I'm skipping this because I see transformation and I'm interested in what the transformation is. Okay, because it might be an easy question. It says under this transformation, the graph of y equals f of x is blank. This is great. Honestly, I don't even have to care about what the function actually is, right? I just have to see what the transformation is. If I see y equals f of x minus 4, okay, y equals f of x minus 4, you should have learned this with Mr. Bird. This means that you're going down by 4 units, okay? If you don't remember the directions for these, like if you don't remember if -4 on the outside means you're going up or down by 4 or left or right by 4, I'd recommend that you go over transformations a little bit, like just like the function transformations. For example, if it was f of x plus 4, it would be up by 4. If it was f of x minus 4 in the parentheses, it would be to the right by 4. And then if it was f of x plus 4 in the parentheses, it would be to the left by 4. Okay. This is like a kind of guide that you can use in the future if you don't memorize these transformations if you forgot. But that's how like each function shifts. Okay. Based on where the constant is being added or subtracted. And it's not going to be a stretch unless you're multiplying the function by 4, right? If it's like 4f of x or f of 4x, then yeah, then you're gonna have a stretch, okay? But since we're adding or subtracting, it's always gonna be a translation, not a stretch, okay? So that for that reason, it's f. We're drifting down by 4 units, okay? For 29, what is the height of the tree over here? Okay. Um, I see an angle and I see a missing side. That means I have to use trig, okay? Whenever I'm using trig, you might not all be familiar with trig. If you see a question like this and you don't want to do it because it's trig, it's honestly okay. There'll only be 1 or 2 of these on the exam, on your ACT. But in any case, let's say you want to use trig. You remember the golden phrase SOHCAHTOA, right? You want to see which 2 sides are relevant. okay, and then see what those sides would be in relation to your angle. So this is your angle. We're right now we're interested in the 18 and the question mark. So the 18 is called the adjacent side to your angle, right? Because it's touching the side. And then this question mark is going to be the opposite side, right? Because it's oh what just happened there? Oops. It's the opposite side because it's opposite to the angle, right? This would be the hypotenuse. If it gave us 18 over here, we'd be using the hypotenuse, but we're not using the hypotenuse. So don't worry about that. So I see an O and an A, right? It corresponds to the TOA. And TOA just means that the tangent of your angle, so tangent of 40 degrees, is equal to O over A, right? Opposite over adjacent. So that's going to be question mark over 18. If you solve for question mark, you can multiply both sides by 18. You get 18 times tangent of 40 degrees equals question mark. Okay, and that's going to be your missing side. So here, there's no actual math. It's just knowing how to use the trigonometry. Okay. Our last question, number 30, to round it off. The number line between 0 and 8 is divided into 6 segments of equal length. Which of the following statements is true about square root of 8? Okay. So we want to figure out where is square root of 8. Well, I think first it would be helpful to find out what square root of 8 actually is as a decimal. Okay. So I'm going to go into my PI. I'm going to do second square root of 8. It's 2.83. Okay. So where is 2.83 basically? Where is 2.83? We would have to figure out like what each of these letters are at, what number they're at. Okay. C is in between 0 and 8, so C is going to be 4. And then between 0 and 4, each of these three are divided into thirds. Okay. So A is going to be at 4 over 3. B is going to be at 8 over 3. Then C is going to be at 4, which is 12 over 3, right? And then if you keep going, you have 16 over 3, um, 20 over 3. And eventually you get to 24 over 3, which is just 8. Okay. And now you're going to figure out where's 2.83, right? Is it going to be C? Well, no. It's not 4. That's wrong. It's going to be a D. Well, no. 16 over 3. What is that, right? Um, you can use either calculator for this. 16 over 3. That's 5.3. So it's definitely not there. Okay. Is it between A and B? Well, A is at 4 thirds and B is at 8 thirds. So is it between 4 thirds and 8 thirds? Let's see. 4 thirds is 1.33 and 8 thirds is 2.66. Okay. So is it between 1.66 and I'm sorry, this is 1.33. Right? Is it between 1.33 and 2.66? No. It's J, okay? It's between B and C because it is between um 2.66 and 4. Okay, so that took us about an hour. That was an hour of me working out every single question with time. And even if you had only done 30 questions in an hour, um, we can see what you would have gotten on the ACT if you just spent your entire hour on these 30 questions. Obviously, I spent way more time than I normally would have, because I was walking through these and I was showing the little calculator hacks. I got sidetracked a little bit with the Desmos calculator versions, but now let's actually go over and let's see what we would have gotten on ACT Math. I'm gonna not count the ones that weren't scored. So 28, 18, and 8 were not scored. So that means I got 27 correct. Okay. And I'm gonna see what a raw score of 27 corresponds to. A raw score of 27 would be a 24 on the math ACT. Okay. So if you guys practice using the calculator, and maybe skipping some trigonometry questions here and there, um, and you somehow able to get like the first 30 correct, even if you spend all your time on the first 30, you are at a 24. Okay. And chances are, if you watch this through and you do this in review, you might have done these first 30 questions in under 30 minutes, or under an hour, but maybe even under 30 minutes. Maybe it took you 30 minutes, 45 minutes, whatnot. You get a few more, you get some more time to do the other questions, right? And if I was taking this test with you, I would have like probably done it a little bit faster and tried to um, like read the other questions to see if there are other free points around, right? And that would have given me more points. Okay. So my goal with this is to show you that every one of you is capable of achieving high. Okay. And a lot of the questions can be solved with just a calculator. We just saw we can do systems of equations entirely with our Desmos and our TI if we're smart about it. Okay. So practice using that calculator on Saturday. I hope to see you guys because we're gonna do a full length practice test, and I'll do this kind of thing, but I'll do it for every single question so you can know the best way to answer a question when you see it. And yeah, that'll conclude this review. Again, I'll chop this up into chapters so you can see it on YouTube. But I hope this helped. And if you have any questions, shoot me a message on Schoology with any of these problems if you're confused by them. But yeah, good luck with your studying.